everyone, and welcome to the 2020 Access Institute Virtual Gala. I'm Bart McGee, founder and executive director of Access Institute for Psychological Services. Thank you all for being here, or rather out there somewhere. As you can see, I'm here with my co-host, and we're all alone in this big venue. Normally, you'd all be here with us, and we're missing all of you, our friends and our community, terribly. But you guys know the show must go on. And we're here tonight because our community needs us more than ever. The fact that we have to be here virtually underscores that fact. Mental health is suffering in COVID times, and Access Institute is making a difference for people with the greatest needs. I feel fortunate to have the assistance tonight of veteran journalist and philanthropist Thuy Vu. Thank you, Thuy.
Thank you, Bart, for having me. It's an honor. And I'm really glad to be here in support of your mission and your organization. Don't worry, this is a lot like the Zoom calls we've all gotten used to, except for you can't see who else is in the meeting, and I guarantee there would be no dogs running by in the background or kids running by and popping their heads in.
Well, hopefully there are a lot of very generous people in this meeting because we definitely need the help.
Yeah. Well, let's make sure that happens then. What do you say we get started?
Absolutely, let's go.
All right. So, Bart, I'd like to start this evening by asking you to share what you have in store for us, because we all probably know that the purpose of this virtual gala is to raise funds in support of the Access Institute program. So, what else can our viewers expect to see tonight?
Well, thanks, Thuy. And yes, in addition to raising essential funding, we wanted to make this evening informative by giving our viewers some insights into key mental health issues in our community and how Access Institute is addressing them. So we'll hear from the Mayor of San Francisco, London Breed, and also from our honoree, Gene Robertson, Chief of Special Education for the San Francisco Unified School District, so we can understand how our city and our schools are responding. And we know that the COVID pandemic has brought mental health problems to the forefront. I'm sure all of you out there have been experiencing various levels of distress this year. But COVID has also laid bare the inequities in our mental health system. And that's why what Access Institute is doing is more important than ever.
Yeah.
For almost 19 years, Access Institute has served those in the community, children, families, adults, seniors, who've had nowhere to turn to get the mental health care they needed until they found us. Last year, we provided more than 13,000 hours of free and low-fee mental health service to more than 700 people.
Wow.
So.
That's incredible. I mean, that's a lot of help you're providing out there, and I'm sure that the demand for help also outstrips the supply. So very happy to have you guys here. And is there something special this year that you're giving special attention to? Is there something that you're focusing on right now?
Yes, absolutely. This year we're focusing our attention on our work in the schools because the families and the kids that we serve in those 7 schools are under the greatest stress and don't have the resources that they need to engage in distance learning. So you'll hear more about that from our 2020 honoree, Gene Robertson. And we're also excited to have Mayor London Breed here, and she agreed to be part of this evening, and I know she did an interview with you. Yes. And she has worked very hard to make San Francisco a leader in addressing mental health issues, and she has a lot to say about the challenges in the schools.
Yeah, they're both wonderful people that we're so lucky to have involved in supporting this program. As a journalist, I'm also glad to be part of this valuable program, and I understand that you've also taken your signature art auction virtual this year, no small feat, and plus you've added something called a Golden Paddle Raffle. Tell us what that's about.
Yes. So yeah, in any other year, and many of you out there know that we'd be at our big Spectrum fundraising event, and it would have more than 300 attendees, and it would include silent and live auctions, including our renowned art auction, where we have dozens of works donated by artists and supported by galleries. And this year, the art auction has gone also virtual. It's online with bidding taking place on our website. So you can see, I think, a graphic below where you can view items and register to bid. Now, the auction's a little bit smaller this year, but the quality of the work is the best ever. It's amazing.
Small but mighty.
Yeah. So let's check out some of the works. So the first slide is, so this is Amy Kaufman, and this is an incredible work. This is a very large oil painting. Amy Kaufman is a Bay Area artist, but she is very well known and has shown and is in museums across the country, some in the Bay Area, Berkeley Art Museum, I believe, has works of hers. And so this is an unbelievable oil painting, and it just vibrates. So then the next piece we have is Marco Lorenzetto, who is from Los Angeles. He's actually new to us this year. We have artists that donate every year, and he's brand new. He's a self-taught artist who also through his travels around the world has picked up a lot, and he's really favored by designers. He's appeared in Elle Decor and various design magazines. And so the next one is a favorite artist of mine, Deborah Oropalo, and she's amazing, and she has donated many years in a row. She really supports our organization, and she donates through Catherine Clark Gallery, which is another a gallery here in San Francisco that's been incredibly supportive. And her work is multimedia. It's incredibly powerful, really always emotional and very topical. So just a sample of what you can see online.
Very nice. And we should encourage everyone to log on tonight, right, and bid on some of these things?
Absolutely, yeah. The auction will close tomorrow evening at 7 p.m., so there's plenty of time to get online and do it. And also, as you mentioned, the golden paddle. So all donors that gave $250 prior to the event were entered into a golden raffle, a golden paddle raffle, which is really a chance to win $2,500 toward bidding on one of these lots.
Well, that sounds awfully nice. Have you picked a winner?
We have. We did earlier today. We drew lots, and we got a random name of the winner, and the winners are James and Claudia Harrison. And I'm so pleased.
Congratulations.
James and Claudia, congratulations. And James and Claudia have actually been supporting Access Institute basically since we started. I think they came, pretty sure they came to our first Spectrum event, and they've been to many in the subsequent years. So thank you very much, and congratulations.
Fantastic. Congratulations to them. We should thank all our donors, and I hope you'll all take a look at the auction items, then bid or donate, right?
That's right. You have tonight and all day tomorrow to check it out.
Okay. Well, wonderful, and congratulations again to our winners, James and Claudia. Job well done. I've taken a look at myself and at all the auction items myself, and they are pretty incredible. There's a bunch of things that I wouldn't mind having in my home. We are excited now to let you know that leading into this live event, we are already starting the evening about halfway to our fundraising goal. So let's take a look at that nice thermometer, $229,601. That is amazing. But as we know, there's a lot more need out there, and we certainly would love and appreciate your generosity tonight.
So yeah, we are off to a great start, and really that's because of some amazing sponsors that have given prior to the event. So I would like to thank a few of our sponsors. Particularly, I want to thank our leading sponsor, Susan McLaughlin. Thank you, Susan. Susan joined our board several years ago, and this year, in response to the pandemic and everything that Access Institute is facing, she increased her donation in a very big way.
Oh, that's nice.
So thank you again, Susan.
Yeah.
And I also want to thank our Healing Level sponsor, another amazing person, Paula Williams. Thank you, Paula. I hope you're watching. And Paula also increased her donation this year, particularly to help support the work we're doing in the schools. And then at our sponsors at the Guardian level, Chad and Carrie Lester, and Carrie is on our board, and I'm really very happy that they've been able to donate at that level, and also Stephanie and Chris Young at the Hope level, and Stephanie also a board member, so thank you. And then at the therapeutic level, we have a number of sponsors on this level. And then let's go to the recovery level. Thank you to everyone who donated at the recovery level. And finally, at our resilience level, thank you, all of you who donated at the resilience level. And as you all know out there, we do not receive any government funding. So we rely on the generosity of all of you. bless you.
Thank you.
All of you out there. So we're incredibly grateful for your donations, especially this year, and we can't do it without you.
And it was really nice to hear you talk, Bart, about all the wonderful donors, but particularly about those who stepped up and gave more than in prior years, understanding how much, how much of a need there is right now. And I know many nonprofits have had trouble fundraising during these times, and so to see them step forward during a pandemic and really giving generously is wonderful to hear.
Absolutely, and also, as I said, supporting the work in the schools, both Susan McLaughlin particularly and Paula Williams, they upped their donations to support that work.
Well, I love that. Okay, let's switch gears a bit. Let's talk a little bit about the challenges that Access has faced this year to maintain support of the children and the families that you serve. It's been over 8 months since the shelter-in-place order was instituted, and things are still not back to normal. So I can only imagine how much more difficult this year must be for everyone that you serve. So how are you, and how is Access Institute doing, and all the people that you serve?
Well, I'm doing okay.
Yeah.
I'm managing, but it has been an incredibly challenging year, and we at Access Institute have been adapting and adjusting. I mean, that's what we've done from day one from shelter in place. But the people that we are serving are really in so much distress. They're more likely to be unemployed, working in frontline jobs. And our main goal is to meet that need with the highest quality care that we give. And we are providing more of that, more sessions of therapy. We're doing additional support groups and more case management services. So, I mean, I think to give all of you a sense of the challenge, we did create a video so that we can show you more about our work, specifically the work we're doing in the schools during this really tough year. So.
Fabulous. Okay, well, let's take a look at that video.
The number of coronavirus cases.
1,000 cases of the coronavirus.
Coronavirus.
A deadly coronavirus
Still taking place. Is the virus?
Order for people to stay at home.
When COVID happened, all of a sudden the next day, there was no more school.
In those beginning days, we were seeing a lot of shock and confusion, and now it's definitely turning into more kind of isolation, anxiety, depression. This is not an ideal situation.
Learning how to do therapy, learning how to teach, learning how to communicate through Zoom and other platforms, that's been a real challenge.
The biggest challenge is just figuring out how to be together. The interactions that we have are so much less organic.
It would be challenging for adults, right, to start therapy virtually, and sometimes that's even more challenging for kids, especially little ones.
For some kids, there is a video game that they really, really like, and they have me join the game with them and bring me into their world, and we're like running around the world together. It's never going to be the same as us like running around on the playground, but being able to be in their space with them, that's impactful.
Therapy has shifted from individual therapy for the kids to more of a family approach, because they are the ones who are holding the children right now. So a lot of the parent support that I've been providing is stress management techniques. When you add in the stress of a global pandemic, continuous acts of racial injustice, financial distress due to loss of jobs, food and housing insecurity, those families are the ones that are being severely impacted right now.
38% of our school is homeless. And we have 420 students, so that is a lot of kids. Especially in the Bay Area, when you're under the poverty line, that's a really negative situation for families' mental health. And what I do worry about is that because of the economic impact of all of this and the economic impact on the nonprofits, that this is going to be a time where services are taken away because they're not able to be funded. We're already seeing that with some of our partners. That really concerns me in this time of a collective trauma and increased mental health needs, that now we're going to lose additional services is really scary. I don't believe this is the time to take away mental health services at all.
This March, we faced our biggest challenge yet as the COVID-19 pandemic forced us to shelter in place. We quickly adjusted and expanded our services to meet this crisis. Our school community has been most impacted by the mental health challenges of the COVID-19 pandemic. These students and families need our help now more than ever.
That was an awesome, awesome video, and I hope that some of our viewers tonight will be really inspired by that.
Thank you. I hope so too. I mean, I really think, in particular because the schools are struggling so much and they're also facing budget shortfalls this year.
Yeah.
So, you'll hear more about that in the interview. You heard about that in the interview, but what that means for Access Institute is that, we were receiving some funding through the school district and that got zeroed out this year. So we have to raise even more money this year to keep those services, those vital services in the schools. So.
And that really brings us to the portion of the program where we talk about not only how, but why our donors can fund this very important need. So I'll take a moment here to introduce some suggested levels that you can choose to donate at. And Bart, as I do that, Bart, I'd like you to tell us about the actual work, what are the needs of the programs, and what it costs to support it.
Yeah, thanks to it. Of course, I really appreciate the opportunity to talk more about the services because that's what this is all about.
All right, so let's start then at the $10,000 level. I know that may sound like a big number, but that big number at that level funds such a big need and has such an amazing big impact as well. If you can make a donation at the $10,000 level, you'll be providing 10 families, not 10 individuals, 10 entire families with mental health support for the rest of this school year to help them cope with the stress of extended remote learning. And I know a little bit about that because I have a 14-year-old. She just started high school this year as a freshman in an all virtual learning mode, and I can see how stressful that is for her. And I have a home, and I have some resources to be able to give her support. But I can imagine how difficult it must be, the COVID stress for the families that you serve. Bart.
Yeah, absolutely. You just said it, and many of you out there I know are struggling with this with your children, trying to support remote learning. But the people we see, these families are 100% below the poverty level. Many are homeless, as you saw in the video, and they don't have health insurance. They don't really have any access to care. These are single parents who can't really be home. These kids oftentimes are not in the home, so they have to go to an aunt's house or a friend's house. So the support that we're providing is all the more important. And teachers too. Teachers didn't learn had to learn on,
on the fly,
how to do remote learning. So we're also helping them with strategies on how to manage those virtual classrooms. So we're really there to support the families, and this donation, a $10,000 donation, is really what it takes to do that.
Fantastic. All right, let's talk now about the $5,000 level. If you can donate $5,000, you can be the reason that a group of community elders receive both individual and group therapy. And Bart, so far we've talked a lot this evening about your work in the schools, but not really much about your work with our elderly population. And I can only imagine that the isolation caused by this pandemic has been especially difficult for seniors. I know that my mom is 85 years old, and she has said repeatedly she's lonely because we're not able to visit as much.
We had to pick tonight, so we focused on the schools, but boy, we could do a whole evening about the work that we're doing at Baby Hunters Point Adult Day Health Center, where we're seeing, for 15 years, we've partnered with them to see the seniors in that community. And when the center closed back in March, all the seniors had to go home, and again, many of them to assisted living facilities and a lot of isolation, as you said. And these are seniors that have disabilities, and many of them have pretty severe mental health challenges. And I think just about all of them are African American, all pretty much live in Baby Hunters Point, and most of them, that cohort, they grew up during the Jim Crow era, so they carry a history of racial trauma with them. So isolation is not what you would want for these seniors, so the connections that we've been able to maintain with them through remote therapy, virtual therapy, has been really vital to them. So, you know, it's so important that we keep those services going for them.
That's so important to hear and to share. Thank you, Bart. It's also really helpful to learn about the specific impact that our donations can have at the $2,500 level as well. This provides a comprehensive assessment for one of your adult or child patients. So tell us about these assessments. What do they entail? And specifically, tell us about your interns who are doing this important work.
Well, first of all, the assessment program is awesome. It is an incredible resource. So these are powerful services that, you know, normally you would pay thousands and thousands of dollars for, and vital services. I mean, to get these kinds of tests done for, you know, a child, let's say, who's struggling in school and it's not clear what kind of learning disorder they have, or different kinds of emotional problems that might be impacting it. So they're so important, and they are services that are all provided by our psychology interns in the testing program. And all of our interns and postgraduate fellows are incredibly capable. I mean, this program is so important because it gives them the training that they need to become licensed and become successful clinicians. And, you know, the kinds of things they're learning, the kind of hands-on learning, whether that's in the schools or in this assessment program, is so powerful.
I agree. That's so needed. And it sounds like your mentorship program is creating many new therapists that will continue this work throughout their careers. And that's such a wonderful thing. You're passing it along.
Yes, absolutely, we are. We've been doing this for almost 19 years. And I mean, I think at this point we've probably trained almost 200 clinical psychologists, clinical social workers, and marriage and family therapists. And all of them are out there in the community now working. And our program, I mean, it's really unique in terms of its depth, its breadth, and the high quality of the training, and the social justice focus that we have. So it's a really a nationally renowned program. So it's very, very well sought out.
Absolutely, and I love to hear the passion that you share as you talk about this. All right, so now we're at the $1,000 level, and at this level you can support one family during the most difficult year. Bart, what kind of issues are your patients reporting during this very difficult year, and has the need for psychological care increased?
Absolutely, it has really increased. You know, again, for the people that we are seeing, particularly, they've been impacted by COVID and the stress, the isolation, and also the economics. Half of the people that are calling us are unemployed, and more people are calling in crisis. I mean, so many people are just on the edge. So that's just really, increased our waiting list, and it's put a lot of pressure on all of us to provide the services and to meet this need.
And we've talked about COVID, but there have been so many other things happening this year. We've had the election.
We had the election, just happened.
Yeah, exactly. We've had an economic downturn, and all these things combined. A lot of people are predicting a mental health tsunami coming very, very soon. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, well, it's already hitting the shore, actually. So we're really feeling that. And as you say, this is going to be waves and waves coming, because the mental health impacts of a kind of collective trauma like this don't just go away. I mean, they last. So I think we're just going to keep seeing, this need, go, probably for years. So it's a lot.
So what I'm hearing you say is that it sounds like many more of your patients will need you more than ever. And if our viewers want to help at the $500 level, you can provide this crisis assessment for a suicidal teen to keep them safe and out of the hospital. And Bart, tell us about why it's so important that our young people receive the right kind of help when they are in crisis.
Yeah, this is so important, because you need to meet people ideally you meet them before they hit crisis, but when people move into that crisis space, you have to be right there for them, because otherwise it escalates very quickly and people do end up in the hospital. And I'm so proud of what we're able to do in terms of providing those services, keeping people stable and keeping them out of the hospital. It makes such an impact. And then they can get that crisis treatment or that assessment and then continue right into therapy.
So very crucial services, but I know that your work is not entirely just about moments of crisis in time. And this is where donations at the $250 and $100 levels are very important too, because at the $250 level, you can provide a child with a whole year of group therapy. And at the $100 level, you can give a struggling parent access to therapy as well. So Art, tell us a little bit more about the day-to-day work, not just those moments of crisis, although very critical, but the day-to-day work that you and your colleagues are doing.
So you mentioned therapy, and that really is the backbone of the program. I mean, that is the core service that we're providing, and it's in-depth therapy. It can be brief or long-term, but it's really, the point is it's tailored to the needs of the individual. And so we really are trying to respond exactly to what people what they need. And there are no time limits. People can come, once a week or more frequently if they need that, and for as long as they need service.
That's
and of course, it's all on a sliding scale, so affordable and accessible.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, that's our name, Access Institute, accessible.
That's the name, Access, for everyone. Okay. Thank you, Bart. Thank you. And really thanks to all of you who have donated so far. And I see that we're already making a bit of progress. So let's check that thermometer again and see how things are progressing at this time. Oh, we are now up to $240,000. $851. Thank you very much. That is wonderful to see. Anytime it goes up, that's a great thing to see.
Going up.
And we encourage you to please keep logging on as we transition to our next segment. And at this point, I just want to point out that last week, you made a reference to this earlier. Last week, I did have a chance to interview Mayor London Breed about this issue of mental health and how to meet the needs of the communities that we live in. And she agreed to meet me over Zoom. And I asked her to help give context to this conversation about the mental health crisis facing our communities. So here now is my interview with Mayor London Breed. Mayor London Breed, so nice to have you. Thanks for joining us.
Of course, glad to be here.
Well, in November of 2019, you, along with Supervisors Ronan and Haney, announced a plan to move forward with what's called Mental Health San Francisco. Can you tell us about this plan and why you believe mental health should be a priority for the city?
Well, part of the plan had a lot to do with our need to expand our mental health support in general, as well as our mental health beds in San Francisco. We sadly see a number of people out on our streets who struggle with mental illness. And sometimes when we are able to provide them with support, for example, sadly, if they're taken into custody and taken to San Francisco General, we may not necessarily have a place for them to go to get healthy. So a big part of mental health SF is really trying to change how we address mental health challenges in San Francisco, how we respond to those challenges and not using law enforcement, but using our clinicians and peer counselors and our paramedics. And so it's a comprehensive plan that is reforming the system so that it's not being dealt with from a law enforcement perspective, but from a perspective of providing resources to someone who is experiencing whatever that challenge is. It could be dementia, it could be someone who's schizophrenia, who has schizophrenia, it could be a number of things that people are dealing with. Developing mental health SF is a big part of our goals to try and deal with this citywide.
Now, you've been so assertive on this issue and really have been a big advocate of these kinds of services and making sure things get done. I'm wondering, though, is
the task now even tougher than ever. How has COVID-19 impacted the need for community mental health care needs in San Francisco?
You add COVID to the picture, and you not only are dealing with those who are struggling with mental illness on our streets, people who are experiencing depression based on isolation, our kids who are not in school right now, domestic violence has gone up, suicide has gone up, all of the things that we know exist, the numbers have increased as it relates to COVID. The program is a little scaled down compared to what we really wanted to do and what we truly need. But the goal is to begin the process of implementation because we know people are struggling and we're hopeful that we will start to see a difference.
I'm so glad you brought up counseling because Access Institute, that is what we do at the Institute. And so how can partnerships with nonprofits such as Access Institute fill the gaps in capacity that you're facing right now?
Well, the fact is the city could have the best programs anywhere and we won't be able to touch the lives of everyone. And that's why having organizations like Access, where you are in direct connection with schools, you have relationships with some of the counselors and principals and other folks who work directly in those schools to provide referrals, to support children, to support them in the midst of the challenges that they're dealing with their families. That's invaluable because sometimes we're not always able to get to every person and every family. And I think about even my experience as a teenager when I went through puberty and when I was confused about certain things and uncomfortable talking to my grandmother about those things, to have a peer resource counselor who was a woman who was, just made me feel comfortable talking to her about hard subject matters was really incredible and it was invaluable. And as a kid, you don't understand what that means. You just know that you can go to this person for help or support. And so having something outside of their family to have that discussion to try and help serve them is so important. And so having wellness centers in every school in the city is something we should really strive for. And that's where an organization like Access can play an important role.
Well, let me ask you this, because Access, as you know, you talked about its wonderful program in schools. They work with children who have endured trauma, everything from homelessness to domestic violence to life-threatening illness. And we've heard many accounts now about how, during COVID, kids don't have an outlet to escape from home, perhaps, where they're facing domestic violence or other trauma. So what is the impact of not having schools open and not having these services available in schools right now?
It is so devastating. Just imagine if you are a 6-year-old child and you are in maybe a one-bedroom with, a family of 5, and how things can get tense, right? And potentially child abuse can occur as a result of the tension. And you may have, your family or your mom or your dad who can't make ends meet and lost their job because of COVID. And the impacts on those children. Because many kids do look forward to going to school, not just to get away from what could be a potentially toxic environment, but also to eat every day.
2020 has been a very, very, very tough year. I wonder, though, with all that's going on, is there anything that gives you hope in tackling the challenging mental health issues in the community?
It's been a tough year for so many people. When I think about, almost 300,000 San Franciscans have filed for unemployment, kids are still not back in school, folks have lost their businesses that have existed for generations. It's tough, and it's heartbreaking. And then, I see how people have also supported one another through this challenging time. Because even though this is a big sacrifice for so many people, where we have all had to pretty much stay indoors, stay away from our loved ones, and change the way we live as we were just talking me by so quickly, and I was trying to catch up to it. And now this has forced us all to take a moment and to slow down and to just really appreciate what life has to offer, and hopefully create better lives for ourselves, our loved ones, our communities, and our city. So I'm hopeful that after this is over, we're going to see happier people, a newfound love and appreciation for one another, and I'm excited about that.
What a wonderful, hopeful note to end on. Mayor Lyndon Breed, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much to you. Great joining you here today.
And it was really wonderful to be able to have that conversation with London Breed. She was so gracious to give us that time. And Bart, it's so nice to know that you have such amazing support from the mayor's office of San Francisco.
It's pretty great. I mean, she as you saw, I mean, you got it. She gets it, and she gets the need for mental health. And she, she's been to our Spectrum Gala for the last few years, and many other leaders in the community have too. So I think they know that, that the city, as she said, can't do everything themselves. So they rely on nonprofits like Access Institute to partner with them and to help, it's like help patch that safety net, so that it can really hold people. So yeah, we've got to do this together.
Yeah, and that safety net is needed now more than ever.
Yeah.
So I think what she has said seems to have resonated with many of our donors. So let's check in on our progress so far and see how our thermometer is doing. And I think I see that we've continued to receive some big donations. Okay, 250,000, 851, it keeps going up. And some of the big donations include $5,000 from Ennis Olson, and that's not all, Bart. It comes with a matching $5,000 from Google, so that's 10,000 total.
Thank you,
very
Ennis.
much.
Yeah, it's so awesome to see the support coming in from all of you. You all get it, so thank you so much.
This is when we would also like to transition to our honoree. We've talked a lot about, the recipients, the wonderful work you do, but this next honoree has just been an amazing supporter of the work and has really made it possible for you to do the incredible work that you currently do in schools. And of course, I'm talking about our honoree this year, Jean Robertson, Chief of Special Education for the San Francisco Unified School District. Tell me a little bit about why you chose her as your honoree.
So yeah, every year we do choose an honoree, and it's someone who is an individual who's either made a big contribution to our mission or whose work has made a big impact on the mental health and well-being of the community. So this year's honoree, Jean Robertson, has really done both in a big way. She really does deserve a lot of our appreciation for this. And the story of Jean is great too, because she really goes to the beginnings of the in-school therapy program that we started. I met Jean 15 years ago when Access Institute was in its infancy, and I had paid a visit to Grattan School, where Jean was the principal, and I went there as a therapist, and I was working with a boy who was in a foster care situation and was really struggling at the school. And I had no idea what kind of reception I'd get because, at that time, and I think even today, mental health and education can be kind of an oil and water situation. So I wasn't prepared for Jean's incredibly warm embrace. I think she said, "Bart McGee, therapist, you've come to the school." So she had already become this big advocate for the boy that I was working with, and she saw me as an ally and who could help him, develop the basic trust and safety that was essential for him to get his education back on track. So she had pulled together his teacher and school social worker, other key staff, his grandmother, and we all worked together to really get on the same page and really support his social and emotional well-being. So what I discovered in Jean through that work was how intuitively she understood that ensuring that a child succeeds in school really has to do with attending to social and emotional needs. So she truly is, she was at that time and still is, she was a principal, an educator with the heart of a therapist.
Oh, She's a saint.
She's kind of a saint. So it's not surprising what came next. I asked Jean what she thought about having Access Institute therapists placed in her school. And with that enthusiastic yes that I got, Access Institute's in-school mental health program was born. And that was 2005. And I can say to you, Jean, and to everyone watching tonight, that this was a moment of true inspiration when our two minds and spirits came together. And we created a program that has helped hundreds and hundreds of kids and families, just like that boy we helped during our first time together at Grattan School. So I'm so grateful for your friendship, Jean. You've been the best collaborator. We're so fortunate to have you as Chief of Special Education for San Francisco. It's a role that truly requires an educator with the heart of a therapist. Even now, with everything that you're carrying, with COVID, with distance learning, your spirit hasn't changed a bit. You're the same as that day when I met you at Grattan School. And the only thing we were thinking about at that time was how to help that child. So thank you, Jean. Never stop. The kids depend on you.
Thank you, Barb. Goodness, when I think about those 15 years that we've had together, you have reached status of work spouse.
I've had a few work spouses over the years, and you're my favorite because I'm so incredibly proud of what we created together in the schools. It's been a 15-year journey. It's been kind of an easy journey because we've been so simpatico along the way. I've really appreciated our check-ins over the years to calibrate, make adjustments as we go. We've never, ever lost sight of what we're doing, though. Ultimately was to support kids in their education. I think one of the best silver linings of all of our work, though, has not only been helping the students and their families, but was to get teachers and school staff to understand how important it is to have the mental health component addressed in the school day, like in the building. For many, many years, we would sit with families and suggest therapy, and we'd give them a list. And we'd say, here's 10 places in the city you can go, give them a call, and we'd send them on their merry way. And if anybody in this room today has raised a family in a crisis, or if there's struggles in the family, the last thing you're able to do in a moment of crisis really oftentimes is to pick up the phone. It was very, very important to me to have these services in the school day that made it easy for families to address their kids' social emotional needs. So I am so proud of what we created together at the schools that I ran, but I think what I'm even more proud of is expanding it into other schools. And that was not easy, Bart, to get out there with my colleagues and the higher ups and to sing the praises of what we created together at Grattan School back in the mid-2000s. And so the fact that we have been able to expand into, I think, 7 other schools is just something that I'm very, very proud of. More so even though is to change the mindsets of the staff and folks at the school who serve the kids to see the benefits. Ultimately, when you have a teacher come to me, the principal during the school day, and say, what's so-and-so's number? Hey, Johnny, I'll just say, Johnny's having a tough time. Can I reach out to his therapist? And I'm like, yay, it was music to my ears to just bring the partnership full circle. So that's been beautiful. One of our big struggles right now, though, is funding. I think everybody understands what public school systems are up against. I'm a public school crusader. That's where my life's work is. This is a journey. And it's never going to stop. So all of those nice things that you said to me about me actually have been growing over time. Like I actually understand now what I have done. I didn't necessarily know in the moment what we were doing and how we were building this sort of holistic approach to supporting kids, but I do now because I'm I'm a journeyman now. And funny how journeyman works with the word journey. But it's true. To be a master educator is to understand all facets. And so that's where I'm at. I have never been more proud to receive an honor. And the fact that it's coming from Access Institute just means so much to me. So our funding, as I started to say, is waning. We're having all sorts of troubles with the current administration in our nation. Public schools are slowly being defunded. And it happened to us. Like in our expansion, we were able to connect some funding to expand Access Institute. So that's why I'm here today. I'm still pushing, I'm still hustling. When I first became a principal, my friend over at Civil Rights Academy, she was my mentor principal friend, and I said, how do you get all these amazing programs at your school? And she looked at me and she said, I hustle for every one of these programs. And it was the best thing a mentor ever could have said to a public school principal. It's sick that it has to come to that, but that's what you are. You're a hustler. You're doing things better for your kids. You've got to build programs for your kids. You want to build homes for them. Kids and families, of course, to support and serve kids. So, thanks for the honor. Super, super glad to be here. This is better than an Oscar. This is better than Principal of the Year. To be honored by Access Institute and mental health, just beacon that has been such a good partner over the years. My best partner means the world to me. And Bart, my work spouse, Kristen, again, we have a lot of work to do still. I'm super, super looking forward to continuing the good work in the coming years ahead. So, thank you. And thank you everybody here today. And, don't hesitate to help us out so that we can go far beyond Southern School and more towards 143. We serve 56,000 kids in this city, and I assure you, I don't want to say everybody needs mental health, but a good number of them do. So, thank you.
Well, thank you, Jean Robertson. You can see now why she is our honoree, and it was so nice to meet your work spouse.
Yeah, it's amazing. I love Jean. I love you, Jean. Oh.
Yeah. Well, we're getting near the end of our program now, so I'm so glad to see that donations are still coming in, Bart.
Wow, it's really awesome to see. We do still have a ways to go, and this live stream will remain available on our site and on Facebook, so people can keep donating, and tell your friends. Please let people know they can watch this show that we just did. It'll keep going. So, and also, please follow us on social media and share the links with your friends and colleagues, because one of the things that's difficult about not having a live event is that we can't bring new people in. I can't talk to people. So this is the way you all can help too, is just by sharing the work we're doing. So please share everything.
And if you think this is new for you, it's very new for us, doing a fundraiser in basically what is an empty stage and theater, except for the skeletal crew that is here because of COVID times, and you can't see them, but they're doing phenomenal work behind the scenes, so our thanks to them as well. But this is one of those times that I think we just come up with creative ways to come together and support meaningful work. And so, speaking of meaningful work, this is an opportunity to have one segment here where we have one last short video to show you. So you can hear from some of the amazing staff, the fellows, the interns, and all the board members that really bring this program alive.
It's true. I mean, this work it's human service. So these are all the people that you're going to see in a second are just the little sample of the many people that dedicate themselves to making our 19 years so successful and make me happy every day, because I love working with everyone at Access Institute.
Community of people who've come together to help those for whom mental health services are not available otherwise.
This work allows me to serve the needs of my community while also receiving great feedback from really small
My work at Access is about caring for my community, about providing essential mental health care, not just now during a once-in-a-century pandemic, but year after year for all those who need it.
We are all living through this pandemic. We are all wearing masks. We're all talking about this pandemic. We're all trying to cope with the stress of this pandemic.
I hope you too will appreciate the work we're doing and consider making a donation.
I love that video and all the times that the folks in there said community, right? You really feel that spirit of community and how much they care. And just, you know, kudos for all the wonderful people on your team who do this work.
Kudos to all of them. It really is. It's the interns and fellows that are doing the work on the front lines. It's the staff supporting them. It's the board of directors supporting all of us. And then it's all of you out there, all of our donors and everybody who volunteers for the organization. Everybody, it truly is a community organization. Yeah.
Speaking of donors, on that note, I'm going to ask for one more round of donations before we end the program. You knew that was coming, but this is a fundraiser after all. And thank you so much for all of you for joining us. And let's take one final check on that thermometer to see how we did tonight. And there you go. We brought it up, Bart. $253,951.
Thank you, all of you, and thank you, Twee. This was fun.
It's been my pleasure, my honor.
Thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you, everybody. Good night.
you.